So now it says meeting is streaming live on Facebook. Hi, Facebook. Hi, Facebook. Hi, Facebook. I appreciate all the lurkers and eavesdroppers on Facebook, even though you're not here to directly interact and you're going to miss the after party. But yeah, appreciate it. And you never know who's going to stop by and see something interesting and help us all out, right? So with that, I'm Kraig Smyth, Business of Being Human, MyBizGuide. And tonight's wellness workshop topic is prioritizing wellness. And I have a subtitle, and that is the BOBH, the Business of Being Human commercial. Because we're going to get into a lot of what Business of Being Human is, even though I don't really talk about it a lot. That's the book that's the name of the book that I'm writing. And it's a modality that we're going to understand here in a little bit that I'm going to get into. But also a lot of the things that I talk about and post about social media are not even in that book. So like I'm doing the book and then I'm going to do some other stuff because the book's the foundation and there's a whole strategy and there's a method to the madness. I don't know how much is method, how much is madness, but that's what we're doing. But the Business of Being Human, kind of starts a little bit like I'll go from a traditional lesson, right? Well, in coastal nations, before they build the totem poles, they build the tools to build the totem poles, right? So tools, and there's more about that here, but the business of modality, the Business of Being Human is a modality. It's a lens that we're building to look at ourselves through. And there's lots of contemporary business, traditional business, and I'm going to get into some of that. I promise I will. But that's what it is. It's a tool, right? And so all these things, they're all tools. And humans being human, humans wouldn't be humans without use of tools. We wouldn't be here without use of tools. Use of tools is a critical thing to understand when we're looking at humanity. All right. So now we're looking at humanity. This is the Business of Being Human. We're looking at our species from an objective standpoint. That's the core. That's the foundation, right? And yes, I know business has bad taste in a lot of people's mouth in contemporary society. We're going to go through that, right? So with building the tool and then how to use the tool, how to build the tool, how to use the tool. So yeah, first we got to build the tool. First Nations, before they carve the canoes, before they build the totem poles, there's a whole teaching about building the tools. And I don't know the technical cultural aspects of that. I just know, as you know, a student of our species, that there's lots of resonance with that, building the tools. All the philosophies, the big foundation, foundational, what's foundational, just that word, that's a tool. That's a tool that we use to align ourselves with what we're aligning with. In this case, personal wellness, human development, understanding in general, right? I'll do this. Understanding is the soil, an idea is the seed, intention is the water, action is the sunlight. So I like to put that out there. So growing our understanding, building this soil, giving intention to the understandings, making these things actionable. The growing these foundations. Yes, what's the foundation? That understanding is a tool. It's a lens that we use to understand, to view what does foundation mean. That's a lens. There's intention there. What does foundation mean? Socrates, to be truly knowledgeable, we first must know nothing. That's a foundation. That's a tool that we use to help align ourselves, to help keep our thought process flowing, right? And here's the, what we're lots of conversation about rivers and dams coming down and flow in natural life and how our thought process flows and how things actually function. So we're removing dams from our thought process. And first thing we need to do is find the dams. Okay, so there we are, back to business of being human again and looking at things that impede our natural thought process. And a lot of those are going to be found in contemporary society. So no shortage of work, right? Okay, now if we're using the business of being human, it's a multifaceted modality. So one thing, keep the objectivity in play. There's no shortage of work. We want things to do, right? We want to remove these dams from our thought process, right? So there's the positive, there's the engaging in challenge. It's not that, oh man, there's so much shit impeding my thought process, spin off into oblivion. No, it's active, engaging. Business of being human is looking at things. How can we understand these challenges and grow solutions in our species? All right. To use this tool, business of being human. Oh, so we're building the tool. We're going to talk about using the tool, and then we're going to go into the prioritizing wellness. There's a strategy, believe it or not. So first, business being human. Yes, business has a bad taste in people's mouth, but that's looking at things from a contemporary standpoint. That's looking at things where they are now and looking at the collective's addiction to printed currency, materialism, all those kind of things are, yes, attached to what we'd call business. But the foundation of trade predates colonialism by forever. And to look at things holistically, everything trades with everything else, right? Mitakiase, we're all related, we're all trading. And energy is our first currency. Here's a business of being human. Again, like I said, it's going to be business of being human commercials for the first part. Energy is our first currency. So watch where our energy goes. Okay, that's a business of being human modality, right? Just like people would watch where their printed currency goes, which, yes, we're all familiar with. Watch where our energy goes, commonality. But business at its core is creating something of value and exchanging it for fair compensation. If an entity is taking something of value without giving fair compensation, then that entity is just using the concept of business to plunder. All right. So there's got to be fair trade. And in nature, everything trades fair, right? And the first part of understanding traditional trade is that if we only had small groups to trade with, you couldn't burn the group next to you. That might be the only group that you had to trade with. You had to be authentic. You had to be respectful. And this is when we do the trade, traditional, reciprocal, authentic, directional, empowering, that trade model. I'm sure everyone here is familiar with that. Oh, we got Facebook lurkers. Anyways, feel free to hit me up if you have any questions about any of the things I've said. But that trade, traditional, reciprocal, authentic, directional, empowering, the traditional, that first part is the pre-mass commoditization, pre-disposable era, when there weren't a lot of people. We had to be super, super authentic and intentional about our trade, because we need to make sure that the people we trade with are okay. We need to give enough so that they'll come back and trade with us more. And so we can have this reciprocal relationship, right? Trade, traditional, reciprocal, authentic, directional, empowering. So important thing to understand our relationship with business before using this tool. Just like any other tool, it can be abused, right? And the use of tools versus the abuse of tools, in a nutshell, is the problem with humanity. And it's that distinction and that growth, our understanding, is a key component to undoing a lot of human strife. Just understanding when people are using a tool versus abusing tool. And I'll throw some more parallels, right? All these parallels, they're all tools. They help us build this lens that we're looking at ourselves through, right? So common with use and abuse, our medicine is our poison. Common phrase, our medicine, our poison, big teaching there. Then in contemporary society, the difference between medicine and poison is the dosage, right? Printed currency, more portable than 50 pounds of dried salmon and buffalo hide, more exchangeable if everyone's already got salmon and buffalo hides, right? Printed currency alone, value placeholders. People have used value placeholders forever. I'm going to give Griselda a pretty stone for helping me out. She's going to go to the Whole Foods and, get some good supplements. And they're going to say, oh, this pretty stone. Yes, you must have done some work for someone. We've used value placeholders, but those value placeholders are just placeholders and they only reflect value. They don't hold intrinsic value, and they can never reflect value of things intrinsic to life, food, water, shelter. I like to throw in physical, mental, emotional, spiritual wellness, right? The pretty stones, print currency cannot reflect those things. So we can't have those trespass over these things intrinsic to life. Okay. So there are some things to help people unfamiliar with this start separating out business and non-sustainable business, capitalism, right? And I say capitalism is not business. Capitalism is not creating something of value and exchanging it for fair compensation. Capitalism is the sole linear mindset, linear/colonial mindset of accumulating printed currency that doesn't have any intrinsic value. So, take it from there, right? We all know that part. Stupid. So to grow our relationship with business a little bit more, also in the business of being human and in my business consulting, one of the things that we do is try to build this pad between people and contemporary business. Let's grow a new understanding of what business really is, a holistic understanding of what business is. And again, energy, and everything trades energy first. And business, I say that business is an integral part of our species development that's facilitated such hallmarks of humanity as communication, teamwork, leadership, process development, bridging of cultures, understanding of value. So those are huge. And if you take time and think about it, oh yeah, all these things, and this is what's going on in the book, is a lot of this pre-colonized business, pre-commoditization era business, right? So communication, teamwork, leadership, bridging of cultures, process development, understanding of value, all those things are very human-centric things, and things that are good, things that help us. So business being human, looking at ourselves, looking at our species through this objective lens, through this business lens. And interestingly enough, there is lots of wellness in business. There's lots of understanding people in contemporary marketing. You have to understand your target market. You don't want to spend or use resources putting a whatever item, whatever widget in front of someone who's really not likely to buy, right? You don't want to make a trout fly advertisement to a deep sea fisherman. You have to know these people. It is very human centric. And in contemporary business, a lot of things are cycling back around, and we're seeing some recognition of humanity and humans as not being just a cog in the machine, but being dynamic entities. Um, Another thing about business to use that is location, 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 right? Right. Everyone's heard that. So the location is we're on the planet. So that gets back to our understanding of environment and habitat and what the organism is doing and how the organism functions in its habitat. So that's another part of this objectivity and looking at ourselves, looking at our species through this objective lens. So another part of business of being human, and when we're doing this corporate wellness and trying to help people disengage from these contemporary ideas of business, is that business is a distribution channel for change, right? If people using business and using the printed currency and all that, chasing more and more and more under the guise of business is a problem, then people understanding business and deconstructing business is the solution, right? That's the balance part. So business is the distribution channel for change. And if we're saying the business of being human as a lens, as a tool to look at ourselves, this is the distribution channel. This is the way that we can change ourselves, that we can grow ourselves through looking ourselves at some of these things, and also implementing some contemporary aspects of business. Um, so how many times have I said and so? Anyways, working on that. So this is my business, working on working on my own practice here. The the wellness part, prioritizing wellness. Now onto the show. The prioritizing wellness. Yeah, we got to make time. Okay. I think that's the easy part, to say that we have to make time, to say that and to know it. But what are the limiting factors? Why obviously there's lots of things to do in a day, lots of things that want to hijack our time. So remember that thing, that energy is our first commerce. And where is our energy going? Our energy, the first thing, there has to be some energy going into our intention. Okay. Here's another part about using tools is the spoons. And I've talked with some people recently about the spoons, and it basically goes like this: is that most people have like 20 spoons of energy per day. If you're um, if you're physically compromised or sick or whatever, you're going to have less spoons. So how many spoons do you have to use? How much energy do you have to use throughout the day? And where is it going? In business, when we form a business, when we form an LLC, they divide that business into 10,000 shares. So 10,000 shares is what businesses are automatically divided into. Okay. So that's a pretty big number. So let's say you have 10 spoons of energy. I say take one of those spoons and imagine, here's a meditation. Imagine you're dividing it into 10,000, and take 5 shares and give it to your intentions. And one of those intentions has to be your energy management. Where's your energy going? And your energy includes your thought process. First and foremost, where are your thoughts going? Because everyone's probably heard, where we think we grow or where we think we go. So monitoring our thoughts and having our thoughts in alignment is a huge part of energy management. And that's why through the cognitive growth and healing, this understanding. This is why we build this understanding. This is why we grow these foundations and have these tools for looking at ourselves so we can start objectively seeing, look, this is, first of all, this is how we function as organisms on the planet, right? Location. How is this organism function? We have to understand ourselves in a holistic capacity and understanding natural laws, challenge, balance, cycles, ebb, flow, connection to everything, sustainability, all those things we have to understand. And then, that gets back to the wildlife sciences 101, is that you don't know an organism unless you understand the environment that it evolved in. So look in the mirror. That means we don't know ourselves unless we understand the environment that we evolved in. And the environment that we evolved in has these natural cycles, right? So this is why I always, bash the clocks and printed currency and written law, because they're not part of our evolutionary structure as an organism on this planet. So super important, right? This is business of being human. Look at these things objectively and use all of our facets. Yes, use our instinct, objective thought process, heavy on the objective thought process, emotional intelligence, ancestral wisdom, but also all the comparables that we can use. Like, look, this is what contemporary science proves, this interconnective ecosystems over and over and over and over again. And business and sustainability in business has lots of these objective thought process and lots of logic over and over and over again. A business isn't going to be very successful if it burns, if in doing business, it has a huge tendency to burn the building down that it's doing business out of, right? There's business being human. So there's logic. There's where business, there's where common sense is parallel in life. So where our energy goes, that matters. Caring about ourselves is a huge part of it. What are some of these things that, we can really care about ourselves more? Because that's an alignment factor, right? That aligns with our emotion, our development, our wellness. When we start feeling good, when we start progressing on our wellness, when we start progressing in our understanding, those are, in essence, those are naturally occurring alignment factors. I won't say those are tools. The understanding that this is what's happening is important. So growing this understanding that, once we start on our wellness and paying attention to ourselves, everything flows out from within. So ourselves, our personal wellness, we have to connect with that on a deep level in order for real wellness to take place. Finding through the lens of business of being human and objectively looking at ourselves, I'm going to throw something out here that a lot of people want to help other people and have this huge drive to help other people. And that's most of my friends and most of the people I hang out with have this drive. But if you're going to help someone, you have to, that modality has to work within yourself first. You have to be able to have that experiential data, if you will, in order to truly help other people. Now, sure, we can all pass along some information and people can take the words and go with them, and that's helpful 100%. I'm not saying it's not helpful if people are, limited to their own development or experiencing challenges in their own wellness. They can 100%, we can all still help each other. But in order for it to really, really connect with other people, we have to know that within ourselves.
Methodical.
So yeah, methodical. Yeah, it's understanding, how, and so that's a natural process. So if we're looking at how things naturally work, oh, that makes sense. They would have to work within ourselves before we could transfer it out, right? And then these are these things that I see as natural laws. And this is our natural development, right? So business of being human, look at ourselves objectively and understand like, oh, okay, this is like an actual process. And we can understand these processes and align with them. I see Bader. Are you having trouble hearing me, bro? Anyway, I think probably everyone can. Um, so finding ways to align, finding things that encourage us to be on this path of our personal development is super important. And it's a it is an area that people struggle with, and it's a huge challenge. And how do we feel good with all these challenges? But first, embrace challenge. So challenge, natural part of life, and that has to be somewhere. So contemporary society has a huge component that's not engaging challenge, right? So to understand that this is the environment that we're in is important. And it's not just about bashing contemporary society all the time, although I do like to do that. It's about understanding that this doesn't work, that these things in society, in contemporary society, that are perpetuated in contemporary society, and I think these things that made contemporary society actually aren't in line with natural process, for sure not in line with wellness. So growing this pad, building this boundary with the collective is a super important part of our wellness. Because when we don't build that boundary, when we don't grow that boundary, and I know this was one of our past workshops, growing healthy boundaries. When we don't grow that boundary, everything just rushes right into us and trespasses on us, right? Everyone's so squished up together on contemporary narrative, it's difficult to get this boundary, to grow this boundary between our own core self and everything else. But that's an important part. That is an important part of our wellness. We have to understand, and not judging, all joking aside, not placing judgment, just saying this is where we're at, right? Objectively, this is where we're at. There's a lot of things in contemporary society that are not conducive to wellness, that aren't conducive to looking at ourselves in an honest, objective way. So again, here's the business of being human, is to look at ourselves objectively. If we're our own business. Okay, here's another way this business of being human modality works. Like I said, this is the business of being human commercial, is to look at ourselves as a business, to look at ourselves with that objectivity and that intention and that understanding of processes and how things actually function, right? We can't override how life actually functions. We can't override that our blood cells need oxygen. We can't override these immutable phenomena in nature. So it's important to understand these things. So yeah, contemporary society is not conducive to looking at our own species objectively. If it did, we would have had not this conversation. I'd be out of a job. Natural Science 101, as well as if you want to understand an organism, you have to understand the environment that it evolved in. The next part of that is understanding carrying capacity. And I know we talked about this in previous workshops. Understanding carrying capacity. If as a species, the human species looked at itself objectively, it would take this science and say, hey, we're running out of carrying capacity. We're encroaching on the carrying capacity of this planet. And this is like the most basic thing of science. And, you know, our own physical beings, medicine is based on this. Medicine is based on carrying capacity. And in fact, the difference between medicine and poison is dosage. So what's the carrying capacity? When you exceed carrying capacity, things collapse. So looking through ourselves from this objective lens is important in many ways. And if we're struggling with wellness, if we're struggling with making that connection with ourselves, there's a lot of emotion there. Well, business of being human, here's another way to use it. This modality is to build a little bit of space between us and that emotion. And we need to connect to emotion. We need to be honest with our emotion, but also don't forget cycles. There's natural cycle where we need to let our emotion go. There's natural cycles where we need to let our instinct go. There's natural cycles where we need to let our objective thought process go. There's natural cycles where we need to let our connection to ancestral wisdom go. Those four parts, right? Physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, instinct, objective thought process, emotional intelligence, ancestral wisdom. Those are cycles. We're supposed to naturally cycle through all those things. Some could say trauma. I'm not disagreeing with that, but it's a good way to keep this conversation going. Trauma response is going to be very emotional. So people are very emotionally connected and probably spending too much time on our emotion. Okay. Now, but there's a key important part. That's half the population. The other half of the population isn't spending enough time on their emotion, right? Oh, look at balance. If we're all connected, for all the species, one half of the population not spending enough time on their emotion, other half of the population spending too much time on their emotion. Okay, yes, and there's nuances and there's trauma and there's things that have happened to us, but let's take that information into account and understand, are you on the side, are you on the part of the population that needs more work and more attention to their emotion, or do you need to also give your emotion a break? So through objective thought processing, and this is why I'm, mostly work on the objective thought processing, on the mental aptitude, cognitive growth and healing, because we can explain things and help grow a pad there. Remember this growing a pad between ourselves and contemporary society. Oh, also, don't forget, contemporary society is not very good at looking at ourselves objectively. So by thinking about ourselves, we are separating ourselves from that part of contemporary society that is engaged in the cognitive dissonance, not doing its own emotional intelligence and that sort of thing. So there's a way that when we start looking at things objectively, that we can see these patterns. And also objectivity and our objective thought process, our cognitive aptitudes, our mental facets, those don't deny our instinct, our emotional intelligence, and our ancestral wisdom. Those don't deny our physicality, our emotional, and our spiritual. They work with them because objective thought process, true intelligence doesn't deny information. It's all about gathering information. An objective thought process recognizes that instincts are information receptors. Emotional intelligence is information receptors, ancestral wisdom, information receptors. So we're taking all these things. And yes, I muted you only for a second, Griselda, but you can tap out of that anytime. So, so understanding these different facets, okay, and so here's again, business of being human, to use this modality and this objective thought process to just get a little bit of a pad in between our emotion and our wellness, right? Because it's emotional wellness is really what we're talking about. But just because we have emotional challenges doesn't mean we get to opt out of connecting with our instinct, objective thought process, and ancestral facets. Just because it's a mental problem that the human species has doesn't mean we opt out of our physical obligations, our emotional obligations, and our spiritual obligations. And some people could say that we have mental problems because we started opting out of those other things. And I definitely think that that's a consideration. I think that somewhere along the line, people think that they're smarter than they actually are and start ignoring our instincts and start ignoring energy in favor of objective thought process. But in fact, those things go together, and all these things go together. So alignment is the key. And using this tool, using these tools to help us understand our species is key. So yeah, commercial business being human, good way to transcend emotion. If we're too caught up in emotion, good way to transcend emotion. And then isn't learning about the human species an engaging challenge on this level? I mean, it's interesting. I obviously think it's hugely interesting. Otherwise, I wouldn't be doing this. But I think that on a core level, everyone is interested in embracing challenge and growing through our challenge. That's a core level. It's only emotion that says, challenge, that has an unhealthy relationship with challenge, that'll mistranslated as trouble, or start thinking, oh, the odds aren't very good that I'm going to heal, or all the other negativity. But get out of that, and we embrace challenge, and we understand about ourselves basically as much as we're going to understand about ourselves during our lifespan. And the chips fall where they fall. It's not and we do what we do, and that's it, and that's okay, and that's life. So important part of our wellness, of prioritizing wellness, is yes, where our energy goes. And these tools, what tools do we have in our wellness tackle box? A lot of these conversations, this whole conversation, since I decided to have this prioritizing wellness class, it comes up in conversation, in regular day-to-day conversation with the people that I talk to. So going through all these things and what's prioritizing wellness, these keep these aspects keep coming up, and we can see these cycles repeating, and building these tools to look at ourselves, building these tools for wellness. What's this wellness toolbox? What's the wellness tackle box is another way that I like to do it, because I fish and it's tackle box, of course, right? There's all these things. So what are these things that we can cognitively, consciously understand, that these lenses, we need to keep all these lenses in focus to help understand ourselves and to help grow. And this business of being human, that's a good way to, let's reset. Let's look at myself objectively, look at, oh geez, I'm frustrated, I'm hangry, whatever. Oh, well, did you eat today? Did you sleep? From the basic aspects of being an organism on this planet to, oh, where do I need to grow my boundary between me and collective? Where am I repeating collective narratives that really aren't in line with wellness? And of course, that's something that I talk about on the regular, and that's a key part of everything, is understanding where we're at, what the challenge is, and then what are some solutions to grow through that challenge. And all that comes in with that contemporary society. Contemporary society, not in line with wellness, not in line with its habitat. So the big cure, the big solution for contemporary society's illness is in the mirror as individuals. And as individuals, we understand these things. And then that's what changes the collective, right? And that's a huge key, because that's a part of wellness, right? It's another natural
Can't hear anybody.
phenomenon that where spending so much time on our own wellness, we're still trying to help a human. We're spending so much time on our own wellness, but where's the balance? Where's the cycle? Where's the give back? Okay, this is natural law, understanding ebb, flow, input, output, some of these basic basic fundamental understandings of life on this planet. If we spend so much time focused on ourselves, where's the give back? So to grow ourselves, to grow our understanding of these challenges, one is growing ourselves, but also that's our give back to the collective, because we're intrinsically connected to everything else. We're all this species. Remember, we got that. There's this interesting dichotomy where half the population's behind the curve in their emotional intelligence, and half the population's ahead of their curve, and both of those have challenges, right? So there's balance. So understanding that our growth, our individual growth, and our individual understanding helps everything. So, any questions at this time? I'll open it up a minute. I know I just rattled through a whole lot there about prioritizing wellness, and a lot about the business of being human, modality, and our wellness tools. So I'll give people half a second to speak up, then I'll just keep rattling on as per usual. Okay, you had your chance. What? Oh, you wait. Oh, now you wait till I start talking again. Yes, Griselda, did you have something to say?
Thank you, Storm. It's beautiful, and Jay's playing it, and Jay's listening to you. Lightning storm and what's up?
Your audio is horrible. Your audio is
No, I'm unmuted.
anyways, I'll just assume you said something profound like usual. Okay.
I hear me through the stereo.
Yeah, I'm gonna mute you again. No, but your audio is not any good. Anyways, anybody else? Charlene, did you want to say something?
No, I was coughing. I don't know.
Oh, okay. Okay. Fair
I
enough.
was coughing.
Fair
Sorry,
enough.
I took so much time in the beginning.
Oh, you're good.
I wasn't ready today.
No worries. No worries. Like I said, anyone just, jump on, jump off, mute it, turn your video off, eavesdrop on Facebook, whatever. Don't matter. So prioritizing ourselves, because it all flows out from within. That's kind of that key point. What we just went to is our efforts in ourself holistic, right? And holistic, if we understand natural laws, natural processes, ebb, flow, challenge, connection to everything, Mitakiasi, sustainability, balance. If we understand those things, that intrinsically connects us on a holistic level. When people lose that connection to their habitat, all right. So obviously these disconnects become pretty clear when you start looking at our species objectively, like is 7th grade science or wildlife biology 101. Disconnect from our environment has a whole host of other challenges that come with it. So reconnecting with our environment, right? If you will, you can't understand an organism unless you understand the environment that it evolved in. All right, well, that's a physical environment, but also for humans, cognitive function. What's the cognitive function? Understanding that natural environment and all the natural variables is a huge component to sharpening our intellect, understanding all the other species that we had to interact with in order to survive, understanding weather patterns and lifespans and life cycles and movements of other beings on this planet, where that's a lot of information, right? Objectivity, looking at our species objectively. Our main problem isn't physical, emotional, or spiritual. Our main problem is mental. And that is our main problem. And that's also the only reason that people got to be people, is through objective thought processing and understanding our environment and understanding. That's how people understood our environment, understood what we needed to do to get along in it, not how to try to circumvent it. But that in itself is a huge component to understanding our species and understanding where these challenges are now. So the objective thought process to understand these natural laws, what's a cycle, what's balance, what's challenge, what's ebb and flow, understanding where these are flowing through us as a species is a huge part of understanding just how we function. And yes, looking at ourselves objectively when we're disconnected from natural cycles, and that we've only been disconnected from natural cycles for a very short period in the human evolution. Of course, there's going to be radical changes that we were not adapting to and probably shouldn't adapt to. There's a whole system there that's forcing us to look inwards and to look back to these places that we developed. So objective thought processing, prioritizing our wellness. If we understand these things, we're growing the foundation for ourselves, right? First, build the tools. One of the key aspects to wellness is you got to be patient with yourself. When we touched on the parallel to this not too long ago, we do what we do. It takes as long as it takes. There's no like finish line per se, right? It's a journey. And we're growing in this infinite grayscale. And that's how our development works. So understanding this process, we have to give ourselves time. We have to give ourselves patience. There's another contemporary, and it's horrible, but it illustrates the point. The point is that someone, I won't mention who because they're kind of a shithead, but they said, if I was going to chop down a tree in an hour, I'd spend 45 minutes sharpening the axe. Well, that's the tool to do the task. So understanding these tools, growing these tools is super, super important, but that takes patience. Laying this foundation, understanding foundations of going back as a species, as an organism on this planet, going back, reconnecting with our environment, our location, the parameters that we have to work in is super, super important. And taking that time to develop this foundation is super important. So there's a part of all this, and this is part of my kind of personal journey that I saw a long time ago. Like there's not enough time, and there's so many things to do that it's beyond overwhelming. It's just like we have to know that we have to work with what we've got. And that's a huge lesson in prioritization. So within working with what we've got, we have to do things right. We have to go back and grow these foundations and give ourselves space and pragmatically and objectively go through these processes, understand these processes. Again, the business of being human, our species development is communication, teamwork, leadership, process development. Process development is critical, and understanding processes. And isn't it understanding processes, understand natural processes, key to our survival as a species. So understanding how we actually function optimally is key. And building this pad and taking the time to basically be nice to ourselves. And what are we going to do? We're going to create a safe space to work. So we have to, in order to work on ourselves, this business of being human, take ourselves outside of ourselves, if you will, and objectively look, this human that you're going to be working with, which it just so happens to be you, is going to need a safe space to work. So you've got to grow this pad. So you got to grow this boundary, grow this healthy boundary between you and these things that are not conducive to this conversation, between you and these things that are not conducive to a healthy relationship with self. So growing a healthy relationship with self, growing boundaries. If you remember that class, growing healthy boundaries, first one is with ourself. Energy management. Don't let our energy just flow out on anxiousness. There's not enough time to do everything. There's a lesson there. It's prioritizing our energy. Everything has finite resources, to use that term I don't like. And our energy is one of them. And when we talk about spoons, back to the spoons that I brushed over earlier, let's say we've got 10 spoons to use per day, and one of them is devoted to our intentions and our alignment on a holistic level, and then the other 9 are going to go out the window to the day job. 8.5 are going to go out the window to the day job. No, just kidding. Try and save one for action items. But think about one as a meditation. Our energy is 10 parts or 20 parts or whatever works for you. It really doesn't matter. That spoon is just a common concept that I heard and I really, really like. I think it's got something to do with feeding ourselves and understanding how much we as individuals have to work with and how much we can, how much energy we have to invest in each project per day, right? Business of being human, we're investing in ourselves, and our energy is our first commerce. So use that lens, understand also business of being human, talking in these business terms, energy is our first commerce. How much energy do we have to invest in ourselves in a day? That's a very natural concept flowing through business, through contemporary business. But before that, it's just a natural concept. So as we're understanding ourselves, as we're growing ourselves, we're also deconstructing unhealthy connections to business in contemporary society through our cognitive growth and healing, through our thought process. This is building a pad. This is building a boundary. Understanding. When we understand these things, when we see these make sense, we're growing that boundary. We're growing the boundary between collective misunderstandings about business and our more holistic understanding of what business can be and how we can use some of these things in contemporary society as tools. And as much as I bash on contemporary society, there's still the part where we can find useful tools, because there's still a part where we got to work with what we got, and we're here. And there's a good lesson with that too, from the movie Castaway, right? This is all junk and trash and plastic and glass and horrible shit that's contaminating the planet. But if we were on a deserted island and you found a plastic jug, you'd use it because it was what we got. So there's always balance, and there's this thing, you know, there's no for sure's, and that's the Socrates foundation. To be truly knowledgeable, you first must know that you know nothing. Yes, nothing in contemporary society is good, except it might be good for in certain circumstances, you know, and that's a relative term. But to use what we got, to use some of these contemporary business things like our energy, and we're investing in ourselves. This is an important, and I think very very beneficial way that this business being human modality works, is that by speaking in contemporary business language, it really helps transcend a lot of sludge, if you will, a lot of mental sludge. So we're talking about business, right? If we're talking about emotion and, you know, all these kind of things, there's a big part of contemporary society that doesn't speak that, but everything speaks business. And even the shitheads understand distribution channel, investing, diversifying our investment. That's why we have 10,000 shares of energy from this one spoon, because we've got lots of intentions, lots of wellness to do. Look at all this. Look at all the wellness we need to keep up with. So that's a contemporary term, but it transcends a lot of the things that people get stuck in contemporary society. You know, we all feel that contemporary sludge that's not in line. So if we can transcend that, if we can use some of these contemporary terms to our benefit, knowing the background, having a holistic foundation on their use and where they're abused, that's that understanding that we talk about. Understanding that soil. So we grow this soil, and then all these intentions, all these tools, these are all seeds. These are all ideas that are the seeds. And then our intention is we water these seeds. So all these, anything that was said here, anything that you thought that resonated, that's a seed. So we keep a connection to that with a few of those shares. It just takes a little bit of energy to connect to our ideas and keep in contact with those ideas. And that's what we say, watering that seed, and then they become action items. So that's part of our growth. Super, I think, important thing to understand with that business being human modality. And sorry about all the commercials, but this is what it is. You know, where are we investing our energy? And the other part is our energy, where we put energy out, there's a part of law of attraction that's what we get back. So if we're putting energy into healthy things, we're going to get healthy things back. If our energy is flowing out our gray window, where's my brain? Whoops. If our energy is flowing out this thing into all kinds of unfounded ideologies and negative attachments and such, we're going to get that back. There's a concept that says that where our energy goes, we're paying for that. So stop paying for things that we don't want. That's the law of attraction. And there's a movie called The Secret that I don't like, but it's about the law of attraction. And the concept is good. I don't like it because it's like, oh, do this to make $1 million. And don't get me started on that. There's way more important things. But understand the concept of law of attraction, where our energy goes. We have a connection to that because we are intrinsically connected to where our energy goes. And this is replicated in nature over and over and over again, right? This is investment 101 replicated in nature. Well, investment is replicating nature. It's a natural concept that's just been skewed by contemporary society a little bit. But take off this last, few years of capitalism, and we've got energy management, and we've got paying attention to where our energy goes. But the natural part of it is, I always say that a bass takes as much energy to catch a 2-inch minnow as it does a 5-inch minnow. So even that bass has energy management, is in natural attachment to where its energy goes. How much energy is the fish going to invest to catch a 2-inch minnow or a 5-inch minnow? It takes the same amount of energy. So think about that for prioritizing wellness. Where's your energy going? And big picture, forest for the trees is another one. And there's a lot here. Don't spend our time recycling smaller issues when there's big picture things to focus on. And that big picture is the alignment. And that's why I always talk about foundation. When people get spun out in their own mental, emotional ecosystem, mental, emotional, spiritual, physical ecosystem, here's the objective thought process. Take a step back. Remember, business of being human. Read something about natural ecosystems, because we've all got them, and ebb and flow, and understand ebb and flow. And then we can't just have flow going towards the same place all the time. It just doesn't work like that. That's not diversity. That's not that lesson of diversity. So understanding some of these things about energy management, then this is where it gets back to the trauma response. All right, when people have these traumas, that how do I fix this trauma? How do I fix this trauma? And it's the direct trauma, and then there's indirect trauma. So people have a lot of focus, right? Look at yourself objectively. How much energy is focused around your traumas? Okay. So that's an important thing to understand, how much energy is going there, because just putting energy there isn't the cure. Just throwing money at a situation isn't the cure. There's got to be intention. There's got to be process. There's got to be understanding. There's got to be cycles. We've got to cycle outside ourselves. There's a whole lot that everyone needs to still regrow a connection to natural processes. Understand, like legit, if you start to feel like you're spinning your wheels on your own wellness, go get on YouTube and research life cycle of the blue jay or life cycle of the salmon. Do something else. Get off that negative cycle. When we start to feel ourselves not accomplishing anything in our wellness efforts, here's the objective thought process. Look in your wellness toolbox. When you're spinning your wheels, when you're giving energy and not getting anything in return, business of being human, again, you're investing in something that's not giving you a good return. And it's not that you're investing in yourself, it's that you're not connecting to the specific parts of yourself, and the specific parts of yourself are in an environment. So you are an environment. So understanding your environment is intrinsic to understanding yourself. Understanding your own physical, mental, emotional, spiritual ecosystem and cycles and ebb and flow is critical. There's no just throw money at it. There's no just throw energy at it. Our energy needs to be in place and strategic and process, and our energy, our efforts need to be calculated with understanding. Now, caveat, what I said was good in the moment, no longer, because we also invest energy instinctually, emotionally, and spiritually. All those things. I was talking about a specific circumstance in a specific setting, right? So as we go through these things, this energy management is there's lots of contemporary and traditional examples of these things. So understand here, we're looking at ourselves objectively as a business, and where's our energy? Where's our energy going to ourselves in our wellness effort? Where is our energy going to ourselves? Is our energy just flying out in, you know, flying out on its own to whatever? Is it going out through ideology? Is it going out through less than conscious conversations? You know, these are all little things, and we need all the energy. We don't want to waste energy. You know, then this is the thing about consciousness. When we say consciousness, that is energy management. So when people say conscious, conscious responsive, compulsive reactive, no energy management. Conscious responsive, energy management. When people say aware, that's aware. What is our energy telling us? When we're connected to everything, what is going on? What is the translation? What are the translations? How are we translating? And then, yes, are we translating correctly? Are we translating accurately? What lens are we looking through the information at? Are we looking through information at a trauma lens? Are we looking at information through scarcity mindset lens? Are we looking at that, oh, we don't have enough time, or that we do the best we can and things do what they do? So super important components to understand. Consciousness is energy management. So prioritizing wellness is energy management. And are we giving energy to something that's negative? Are we giving energy to a place that we've been before that we don't want to go? Or are we bringing new concepts into our mental habitat and new wellness tools that we can use? Are we spending energy developing new wellness tools? This wellness toolbox, this wellness tackle box. That's something I'm working on, by the way. More commercials, right when it gets good too, right? Perfect commercial. But we're working on wellness toolbox that goes through a lot of these things, and the whole meditation about even having a wellness toolbox. So you can start with that without the Word docs and without the checklist. But imagine you have a wellness toolbox, and there's these different things to do. When you start to feel stressed, do this. When you start to feel hungry, eat. When you start to feel tired, take a nap. Look at where you're, double check. Where's your energy going? Understand that law of attraction. Are we being proactive in, when people say decolonize your mind, are we being proactive in removing the dams that are impeding our natural thought process? And then here's, lessons from addiction again. Is our mentality going to printed currency, written law, clocks and calendars? If we say bank, does your mind go to place that you hold money or place by the edge of a stream? There's a test. Probably got everyone, right? That's colonial mentality. That's what we've been in and are still subjected to, and is not a natural thought process. So that would be a good place to end. It's an important part. I'll see if I have anything else here while that marinates with people. Disengage from quick fix ideologies. Again, build that. So to review, build that pad for yourself. Be nice for yourself. Your growth is connected to everything else. If you have challenging relationship with yourself, that's okay. But growing yourself is growing good relationships with everything else. Growing yourself helps everything else. You don't have to help yourself. You can do a lot of bypassing helping yourself and grow yourself for everything else. But it has to work within yourself. So there's a lot of levity. Create that levity within yourself. Find your wellness tools. What are things that you can do intentionally? Monitor your energy, awareness, consciousness. How much energy do you have as an individual? Everyone around you, if you think, make it up, this is creativity. Make it up. If everyone around you has 20 spoons, do you have 30 or do you have 10? And you wake up a certain day and you have 5. How are you going to use those 5? And keep that intention of wellness. One of those spoons has to go towards your forward progress, your wellness, your growth. And when I say growth, I mean that in a holistic way that you actually feel better. So connecting to your emotion is critical, right? But just like any relationship with anybody else, you can stifle yourself. You can stifle yourself. Probably people stifle themselves sooner than they stifle everyone else. But that's that cycle. Are you consciously paying attention to your physical, emotional, and spiritual, as well as your mental? Are you paying attention? Are you going through your 4 faucets? Are you going through your physical, mental, emotional, spiritual? Or are you just caught in your mental, or just caught in your emotional, or just caught in your spiritual, or just caught in your physical, like half the species? And materialism, that's not a full cycle. Want more? Infant, adolescent, adult, elder. Want more? Female, male, both, neither. 12 facets of humanity. Don't get stuck on just one. Where's your energy going? Diversify your relationship. There's 12 of you. So don't spend all your time hyper focused on just one of you. Grow this diversity. This is a diverse habitat, diverse human ecosystem. And yeah, connect with your emotion, understand the cognitive thought process works. Your cognitive thought process and your emotion, they go together. Make sure they go together. Find out, look for the places they go together. Consciously integrating wellness into your life, prioritizing that goes together. That's where your mental and emotional meet. And that's where your spiritual is going to be investing also, is going to be reciprocating that. Your physical is going to be reciprocating that also. So use our cognitive growth and cognitive growth and healing to organize your life. Here's the business of being human. Again, you're your own business. This is what the business of being human is. You're your own business. You can know these things cognitively without getting too crazy emotionally. Support your emotion on the same level. So it's balance. It's the right amount of emotion. It's the right amount of energy towards the right aspect of your own personal journey in life. Look at it objectively. Develop your tools, make your tools. You got to spend time making your tools. You got to spend time understanding these tools. And if you do that, I guarantee you'll have a healthier life. This is Kraig Smyth, my biz guide, Business of Being Human, with tonight's topic, prioritizing wellness. So, Facebook, signing off from you. Thanks, Facebook. Thanks for watching. Thanks for watching. We're going to go to the after party without the Facebook, and we're going to open it up for the people here live, and we can have that we can have that VIP after party is going on now. Thanks a lot. Good night and be well.